Well, welcome to the Accessible Apologetics Show, where it's all about helping you explain your faith with confidence, with courage, and with compassion. And to do so in a way that anyone can get. Now, for just meeting, my name is Mikel Del Rosario. I'm your apologetics guy, and I'm super excited that you're here. I want to welcome you to my brand new monthly show. Yes, I'm doing a brand new monthly show right here on YouTube. It's long form content right here on my channel that's dedicated to helping you learn how to engage with people who see Christianity differently and how to share those clear answers to the tough questions that people are asking about the Christian faith. So whether you want to explain what you believe and why you believe it, or whether you want to just have better spiritual conversations with your friends or with even your own kids, this show is for you. And on today's introductory episode, what I want to talk about is the heart, the vision, and what you can expect from the Accessible Apologetics Show every month right here on my channel. And stay till the end because I'm going to announce my very first guest, and it's probably somebody that you've heard of before, who's doing some great work in Christian apologetics. But before we get to that, let me explain to you the heart behind this show. Let me tell you first that I actually just finished my PhD. I completed a PhD in biblical studies with an emphasis in New Testament studies. I was studying the historical Jesus as a figure in ancient history. And before that, I earned a Master of Theology from Dallas Theological Seminary, also where I got my PhD. And before that, I earned a Master of Arts in Christian Apologetics from Biola University. I'm a professor. I've also done full-time ministry as a missionary, as a youth pastor, and I teach world religion and Christian apologetics right now at William Jessup University. Now, that might sound like a lot of unnecessary academic and ministry kind of flexing to you, but let me explain why I share all that right up front. It's because I want you to know that the heart behind this show is to take the best lessons that I've learned from my academic work and from practical ministry and put them together in a way that can help you. I want to help Christians with faith questions, people just like you, to be able to find answers for yourself and to share those answers with other people in a way that anyone can get, in a way that makes sense to them and doesn't make it all weird when you're talking with your friends. So that's the heart of what I want to do with the Accessible Apologetics Show. Let's talk about the vision. When it comes to the Bible, there are some issues that are not so simple. And it takes a lot more time than people have to kind of sort out the details. And what I want to do is help fast track your research into these topics so that you have what you need when you're wrestling with questions about the faith, questions about God, Jesus, or the Bible, so that you have what you need to know when you're wrestling with your doubts or coming alongside somebody else who's wrestling with doubts or questions about the faith. I want to simplify apologetics for you as much as possible without skimping on the substance. So I hope if that's interesting to you that you will consider subscribing to the show. Apologetics, sometimes people ask me, is there anything you hate about Christian apologetics or anything you don't like about it? And well, one thing that kind of bugs me about Christian apologetics is that apologetics can get a bad rap. It can kind of get a bad rap because some people think it's all about arguing and debate and being mean-spirited, or getting into the kind of philosophy that ends up just taking you away from the Bible. But I think for some people, they aren't really sure what apologetics is, but they're not entirely sure that it's for them. Or the first time they encountered the word apologetics or saw it being done, it was portrayed to them in such a way that it was just something that was mean or insensitive and something that was not at all the kind of apologetics that we are called to as ambassadors of Jesus Christ in this world. But I believe that apologetics can actually change people's lives. And it can be a good change for the better when it's done right. You see that in the Bible. You see that even in the modern times. You know, people like Lee Strobel, people like J. Warner Wallace, people who were committed atheists who didn't think Christianity was for them or that a thinking person or a rational person could take that seriously. And they began to look into the evidence for the existence of God, for the resurrection of Jesus, for example, and they ended up becoming Christians. And for me, it's all about building those authentic relationships where you can have this safe space to explore some of the most important questions in life. Questions of truth, like, is there more to life than this? Is God real? Who is Jesus? Can I trust the Bible? These kinds of questions. But also questions about the goodness and the relevance of Christianity. Because many times people won't get to the question about the truth of Christianity until they even are convinced that Christianity is a good thing. So we're going to be talking about those kinds of questions as well, about the goodness and the relevance of Christianity, as well as the rationality or the truth of the faith. Now, many of you know me from Dallas Theological Seminary on the Table podcast. I actually produce the show, and I'm one of the hosts. But even though I've done a bunch of apologetics episodes on the Table podcast before, the Table isn't a show that is just about apologetics. It's a cultural engagement show. And we have shows, honestly, booked out months and months in advance, sometimes 6 months in advance. And so there's so much more I'd love to share with you, and I can't do it all on the Table. So there's authors and resources I want to highlight. And so that's why I want to launch this long form of vodcast. Some people call a podcast on YouTube a vodcast. So it's a vodcast of sorts happening once a month on my channel. But the Accessible Apologetics Show is another way for me to be able to give you more accessible apologetics training. So I talked about the vision, the heart, and now here's what you could expect from the show. I want to share with you some interviews with authors that specialize in simplifying apologetics for everyday conversations. I want to share with you some communication keys for those apologetic conversations and some basic teaching in 3 categories of apologetics. So there's a number of kinds of apologetics. That's not just philosophical apologetics, but that's the one that comes to most people's minds when they think about apologetics. Maybe they went to a conference and they heard about arguments for the existence of God and how to deal with the problem of evil. That's the philosophical side. And I kind of put the scientific side in with that as well. So that's one category. Questions about philosophy and science. And the second category is questions about the Bible and historicity. So that's biblical and historical apologetics. And so here we answer questions about the historical Jesus, for example. And then we also have cultural apologetics. That's the third side, cultural apologetics, where we talk about cultural engagement, cultural issues, whether you're talking about film, movies, or questions about gender, sexuality, these kind of hot topics, hot button issues in society. How does a Christian ambassador engage with those things? So maybe you've been to an apologetics conference and you've mostly just heard about the philosophical kinds of apologetics, but I have to tell you there's so much more than that, and I'm excited to be able to engage with you in the comments on all 3 of these categories of apologetics. So finally, where can you find the show? Right now, again, like I said, it's a monthly offering exclusively on YouTube, although I will be posting links to each show on my social channels like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can subscribe right here. Subscribe and let me know in the comments what kinds of topics would you like to see covered? What kinds of topics would you like to see covered? Let me know in the comments right now. And you can also follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, on my socials. Go ahead and at me on Twitter or on Instagram. You can DM me. The first actual episode is coming next week. It's the first Friday of the month, and I'm so excited to share it with you. I think you're going to get a lot of value from the Accessible Apologetics show, especially this very first one. And I want to think of ways to help fast track your growth in apologetics, to help you better have spiritual conversations with people right away. So if you're excited about the new show, please hit that like button and let people see this, because every time you do that, it helps more people see the video. So I want to announce now the very first episode that is going to be part of this series. And here's what it's going to be about and who the special guest is. The first episode is all about why Jesus still matters in a world that rejects the Bible. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, it's because the guest is J. Warner Wallace, and he actually wrote a book called Person of Interest, and that is actually the subtitle, Why Jesus Still Matters in a World That Rejects the Bible. Jim is a cold case homicide detective who left atheism when he became convinced of the truth of Christianity. So he's been fascinated by Jesus for quite some time, and we are kindred spirits in that regard. So again, please subscribe to my channel right now. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the show, and I will see you in the next video.